We keep our lives simple so that our path to heaven will be wide open for us.
Amish women live by rigid rules, like sewing their own simple wedding dresses that they're required to wear each Sunday after their wedding day. They also can't ever cut their hair. Join us as we reveal 15 things Amish women do not want you to know. Number 15. Sewing their own wedding dresses. In the world of the Amish, traditions run deep, and perhaps none more so than the ritual of a young woman sewing her own wedding dress. This handmade dress comes not in extravagant white, but in simpler colors like blue, purple, or green. Though conservative communities mandate blue, most permit brides to choose their preferred hue. Even then, the most common colors are blue and purple. Whatever color the dress is, it is accompanied by a white apron and prayer covering. Special as her wedding day will be, her dress won't be worn just once. An Amish woman wears her wedding dress 52 times per year on Sundays. When an Amish woman dies, she's generally buried in that same wedding dress and apron, as well as a cape. Through this handcrafted garment, past and present intertwine. The bride devotes time and care to stitching the dress, reflecting Amish values of modesty, self-reliance, and dedication. Donning it weekly connects her to their heritage while beginning married life. If custom continues, this dress will remain with her until laid to rest. Sewing one's wedding outfit is more than a quaint tradition. It's an act of devotion and commitment to faith, community, and humble living. In a world where weddings flaunt wealth and dresses cost a fortune, the Amish hold fast to passing down time-honored rituals. Though curious to outsiders, insiders understand this rite of passage for Amish brides. Number 14. Having children is mandatory. For Amish couples, having a large brood of children is not merely a choice. It's an obligation. Their Christian faith instructs believers to be fruitful and multiply. Amish interpretations take this decree seriously, making procreation not only allowed, but an expectation for married couples. While mainstream society weighs the pros and cons of parenting, most Amish see it as their God-given duty. Bearing children demonstrates devotion to their beliefs. With large families the norm, Amish households burst with energy. 7 to 10 children is common for Amish couples, vastly exceeding the average American family size. Naturally, spacing pregnancies is the only form of birth control utilized. At a time when global overpopulation is a rising concern, the Amish model seems counterintuitive. But within their agrarian communities, more offspring means more help tending fields and livelihoods. Children are seen as blessings, not burdens. While the abundance of children may look like a sacrifice to outsiders, Amish parents see it as spiritual obedience. They embrace parenthood with open arms rather than viewing it as an inconvenience. Confident in their purpose, Amish families revel in the happy chaos of big broods. Of course, providing for such large families is not without challenges. Amish life is no idyllic utopia immune from worldly concerns. Food costs, medical bills, and educational needs strain budgets in large clans. But the Amish tackle hardships as a community, offering support and resources to assist expanding families. Together they find solutions, believing their lifestyle is part of a greater plan. For the Amish, reproducing is a divine assignment, not a choice. Their communities thrive on this abundance mindset that directs families to welcome more children, regardless of the sacrifices required. Faith in something greater propels them forward as they fulfill their role of rearing numerous offspring in accordance with biblical principles, a role Amish parents readily and gratefully accept. Number 13, they cannot divorce. When Amish couples marry, until death do us part, holds heavy meaning. Divorce is forbidden, forcing couples to reconcile differences rather than dissolve marriages legally. This stringent stance arises from both cultural traditions and biblical interpretations. But despite taboos surrounding divorce, some couples do separate when reconciliation fails. The Amish Church prohibits divorce except in extreme circumstances like physical abuse, substance addiction, or abandonment. Even then, securing a bishop's approval is difficult. Instead, efforts focus on repentance and forgiveness to mend broken unions. Divorcing is seen as breaking sacred vows not just to one spouse but to the entire congregation. Allowing divorce could threaten their communal stability and integrity of a lifestyle built on tradition. Thus, rather than divorce, some desperate Amish couples resort to permanently separating through bedding separation. But they still consider themselves married in the eyes of God and the Church. Actual divorce papers are deemed unacceptable. The social consequences also deter divorce. Excommunication and shunning from friends and family represent prices few are willing to pay in exchange for the legal dissolution of marriage. Amish culture places premium importance on repentance and maintaining harmony. Divorce is considered a failure. Of course, not all remain content to forgo divorce to keep the peace. Abuse and dysfunction take a toll. Some ultimately conclude legal divorce is the only remedy, accepting excommunication's costs for safety. But overall, cultural taboos and fear of shunning compel the majority to avoid divorce. Their married lives must adapt to reality's constraints without this exit. For better or worse, their unions persevere. Number 12. No buttons. Clothing among the Amish reflects the core tenets of their faith: simplicity, modesty, and uniformity. If a style element doesn't serve a practical purpose, it likely won't be found in Amish attire. Take buttons, for instance. Unlike English clothing laden with buttons down the front, Amish dresses and shirts often use straight pins or hook and eye closures. Why forgo buttons? The Amish see them as unnecessary adornments. Hooks and eyes do the job, so no need for decorative buttons. Another reason lies in the ease of unbuttoning. Buttons make clothes easier to remove, a bit too convenient when guarding against temptation. The Amish value maintaining focus on God, not indulging fleshly desires. By avoiding buttons, they remove potential temptation and distraction. Women don't want to pay attention to their figures. Modest, plain dresses keep thoughts pure. There are also some practical advantages to avoiding buttons. They can be pricey compared to pins or hooks. Simple fasteners get the job done at a lower cost, and buttons can easily pop off with wear. Replacing buttons takes time, a precious commodity in Amish life. Hooks and pins keep clothes securely fastened. To the non-Amish, buttons seem too trivial to hold such significance. But within a culture where every element has a purpose, something as small as a button takes on a deeper meaning. Amish beliefs shape even the tiniest details of dress. Characteristic Amish clothing was not always the standard. Their traditional garb developed over generations, influenced by religious interpretation, available resources, and a desire to be separate from the outside world. What began as small tweaks gave way to set dress codes. Whether caused by social pressures, communal norms, or sincere faith, the Amish continue adhering to prescribed attire that aligns with their values. Removing buttons is but one small manifestation of a greater commitment to righteous, modest, and unadorned living. Number 11. No makeup, jewelry, or fashion accessories. Step into an Amish settlement, and one aspect that immediately stands out is the absence of makeup, jewelry, and fashionable attire adorning women. Drab dresses, bonnets, and aprons dressed down in solid blues, blacks, and grays replace trendy outfits and glittering gems. To outsiders, their style may seem dour and deprived, but to the Amish, rejecting decoration and adornment reflects higher priorities. Central to Amish faith is the value of Gelassenheit, humility, modesty, and conformity. Drawing undue attention through appearance contradicts this ideal. Makeup, jewelry, and stylish clothes serve no purpose beyond prideful display in their utilitarian worldview. Adorning oneself risque outside attention and self-focus, vanities they diligently avoid. Amish women also emphasize inner beauty surpassing any surface sparkle cosmetics or jewelry could provide. A righteous spirit pleases God more than ear baubles or rouged cheeks. Likewise, fashionable outfits elicit worldly validation of appearance, distracting from inner character. Opting for simplicity keeps priorities anchored on faith, not looks. Of course, the degree of restriction varies between Amish orders. Some groups allow discreet makeup in natural hues or simple hairpins, but even these allowances remain far from English fashion norms. Avoiding bold self-display outweighs individual style. Blending in humbly maintains community ideals of uniformity. To English eyes, their unadorned appearance may evoke pity over perceived deprivation. But within Amish culture, shedding vanity and glitter to focus on spirituality brings greater meaning than chasing trends. Their timeless dress harkens back centuries yet points forward to a deeper purpose. For them, true fulfillment shines not from surfaces but from within. Number 10. Strict hair rules. Long flowing locks characterize Amish women's appearance, reflecting key values of their faith. Hair remains uncut their entire lives, with not even a trim allowed once married. Keeping hair long, untouched, and covered in public is considered biblical obedience. but untamed tresses also carry deeper cultural meaning. Strict rules govern Amish hair. It must remain long, signifying femininity and deference to male authority. Cutting hair short is associated by Amish interpretation with defiance. Only singed split ends are permissible for grooming. Some groups mandate covered hair for unmarried women too. In public, hair is always neatly pinned under caps and bonnets. Revealing it loose is reserved only for husbands. Styling tresses into elaborate updos risks drawing vain attention. Simple buns and braids keep focus on inner character, not eye-catching hair. By avoiding cutting, shaping, and publicly displaying their lengthy locks, Amish women honor traditional gender spheres. Their long hair marks their willingness to embrace distinctly feminine roles: motherhood, homemaking, and submission. Adorning hair lavishly could imply personal pride or independence. Of course, these strict hair taboos are not without controversy. Some see the mandate for uncut hair as undermining women's autonomy over their own bodies. But within Amish culture, following these rules represents faithfulness and shared identity, not oppression. Women adopt the traditions voluntarily, seeing deep meaning in the rituals. Honoring these hair practices may seem peculiar to mainstream society, but generations of Amish women have cherished long tresses as emblems of their devotion and community solidarity. Their flowing manes weave together spiritual meaning, womanhood, and obedience into braided strands of tradition. Number 9. Silent obedience. Among the Amish, pregnancy and childbirth are viewed not as medical events, but as natural phases ordained by God to be endured with resilience and silent obedience. Expectant Amish wives continue arduous chores up until the onset of labor. Neither pain relief nor exceptions from duty are permitted during this time. Only once contractions start is a woman relieved of responsibilities to give birth at home without medicine or noise. This stoic approach stems from Amish beliefs about feminine roles rooted in submission and service. Wives must dutifully pull their weight completing farm work and household tasks, regardless of pregnancy's challenges. Showing weakness or seeking reprieve from their obligations is frowned upon. Labor is part of a woman's lot. Accordingly, Amish wives do not receive nor expect special treatment while expecting. Prenatal checkups are deemed unnecessary interventions into divinely ordered processes. God will provide the strength needed to complete necessary tasks without concession. To request exemptions from normal work affronts his providential design. Then when the moment of delivery arrives, Amish women rely wholly on that promised strength to endure childbirth naturally and silently. No pain-numbing epidurals or attendant coaches guide them through the agonizing labor. Husbands take a secondary role as wives bear the fruits of their union stoically. Stoic means silent. No cries or exclamations escape Amish women's lips during birth. They believe calm quietude shows trust in God's care rather than anxious complaints. So even intense pangs cannot compel outbursts. Only steady, silent resolve perseveres until the baby's arrival. To the non-Amish, this strict approach may seem dismissive of a mother's suffering and unnecessarily dangerous. But within their traditional culture, it epitomizes a woman's faithfulness to endure hardship while submitting fully to God's plan. His comfort supersedes medicine, and their reward outweighs agony. Their silent obedience speaks volumes. Number 8. Restricted roles, education, and work. Amish society remains rooted in traditional gender spheres despite modernizing influences. Male leadership and authority dominate church and home, while women obediently submit to supportive domestic roles with limited education and work opportunities. Though some variations exist between Amish groups, in general, female roles hew closely to long-established limits and duties. One pillar of this gender structure is restricted education for girls. Formal schooling in Amish communities typically ends after 8th grade, as their agrarian lifestyle requires no further academics. Education focuses on practical skills, obedience, and preparation for domestic responsibilities, not scholarly advancement. Accordingly, higher education leading to careers is deemed inappropriate for Amish women. Their domain centers on home, hearth, and child rearing. Studying to become a professional or enter the working world violates cultural norms prioritizing motherhood. Women marry young and invest their gifts into family rather than individual ambition. Correspondingly, wives work almost exclusively within their homes or on family farms and businesses. Seeking employment in trades or professions unrelated to domestic duty remains taboo. Some may sell baked goods or handicrafts from home or assist a family shop, but mainly Amish wives focus entirely on wifely and motherly obligations. The reasons behind these restrictions on education and work vary. biblical interpretations, upholding tradition, maintaining separation from worldliness, and strengthening the family unit. Amish women themselves tend to accept and find purpose within the constraints as faithful followers of their way of life. Each role contributes to community survival. Number 7. Featureless dolls. A walk through a toy store will reveal aisle upon aisle of dolls with smiling faces, fancy clothes, and the latest trends. But in an Amish home, dolls take on a more minimalist look. Amish dolls lack facial features like eyes, noses, and mouths. Where modern dolls are designed to resemble real infants, Amish dolls have a more austere appearance with plain cloth bodies and simple bonnets or caps atop their featureless heads. To outsiders, faceless dolls may seem odd, even unsettling. But for the Amish, removing facial features serves an important purpose. It helps deter vanity and obsession with appearances. Amish beliefs prize humility, modesty, and conformity. Unique faces on dolls could feed into pride and vanity overlooks. Likenesses could also create unhealthy attachments between girls and their toys. Therefore, Amish dolls stick to pure function over form. They encourage imaginative play and creativity not dependent on physical attributes. Of course, there's irony in the fact that these faceless dolls have now become collector's items coveted for their quirkiness. Countless craft shops sell Amish-style doll patterns, and YouTube tutorials give step-by-step instructions on sewing Amish dolls. What was once just a humble toy for Amish girls has been commercialized into a product for profit. However, whether a novelty item or plaything without pretense, the minimalist Amish doll embodies the core values of this community. Amish dolls, in their own modest way, remind little girls it's what's inside that counts. Their lack of detailed features emphasizes personality and actions over appearances, and by avoiding distinctive faces that could breed attachment, they underscore the importance of independence and self-reliance. Though plain in design, Amish dolls impart lessons that stay with girls as they grow into Amish women devoted to faith, family, and community. Number 6. Living without technology. For Amish women, days unfold without beeps, clicks, or the glow of screens. Their lives remain untouched by modern technologies most take for granted. No smartphones light up their pockets. Kitchens function sans electric mixers and microwaves. Washboards and clotheslines rather than machines launder their clothes. While English neighbors embrace convenience, the Amish intentionally live without most inventions of the last century. Their avoidance of technology seems drastic to outsiders. But within Amish culture, this Spartan approach represents values like simplicity, sufficiency, and separation from the world. Relying on technology is seen as a worldly indulgence that threatens to disrupt their cultural rhythms and communal bonds. The sacrifices of manual labor are accepted to uphold tradition. Of course, self-sufficiency requires creative adaptation. Alternative Amish technology emerges, often modified for manual operation. Gas refrigerators preserve food sans electricity. Diesel engines power laundry appliances. This blend of old and new meshes necessities with their beliefs. They adopt pragmatic solutions while rejecting the temptation to entangle modernity. Without constant digital stimulation and entertainment, Amish women savor time for reflection, family, and enjoying nature's beauty. Technology's absence fosters mindfulness in a multitasking frenzy outside their bubble. For better or worse, their lifestyle stands frozen in an analog time warp, and most Amish prefer it that way. Avoiding modern tech is not a senseless rejection of progress, but a deliberate choice to shield what matters most. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. The Amish community is known for their unwavering commitment to manual labor, refraining from embracing modern technology even among their female members. Their rigorous work ethic encompasses a range of physical tasks such as lifting, chopping, sewing, and planting, setting them apart as a group 6 times more industrious than individuals from other countries. This emphasis on physical activity is reflected in their notably low obesity rate, with only approximately 4% of the Amish population struggling with obesity, in stark contrast to the 36.5% obesity rate among the broader U.S. population. What are your thoughts on the unique Amish lifestyle? Let us know in the comments below. Number 5. The price of leaving. Departing the secluded world of Amish life represents a monumental crossroads. The path away from community, tradition, and separateness cannot be forged lightly. Those who depart must build entirely new realities and abandon foundational beliefs. Navigating a foreign society with limited education and skills can overwhelm the unprepared. Yet some still choose to leave despite steep costs. The most immediate impact is relational exile. Family ties are permanently severed in many cases. Even contact with friends left behind is severed completely if excommunicated. Survivors describe this loss of community as a devastating void. Constructing a social network without one's cultural cohort poses challenges. Loneliness and alienation often follow. Starting over in the modern world also presents daunting adjustments. First steps like obtaining legal IDs, enrolling in school, or finding employment can be hard for Amish lacking official credentials and worldly experience. What English natives accomplish seamlessly seems impossible at times. It may require leaping before looking just to survive, but courage can grow in sink or swim crucibles of hardship. And not all leave the Amish completely behind. Some retain parts of their heritage privately, even when departure severs communal belonging. They may cherish old traditions, recipes, and memories while still embracing new possibilities. Their roots remain entwined with identity. Those who leave have often agonized over sacrificing family ties and certainty for freedom. But at pivotal moments, an undiscovered path beckons journeys unknown, and departure makes room for new lives, reinvention, and glimmers of individuality unfettered by prescribed roles. The price is always high, bridges backburn, but for some, the lure of independence outshines all they've ever known. Number 4. Rumspringa and the choice. In Amish society, youth reach a crossroads called Rumspringa around age 16. During this running around period, adolescents are granted temporary freedom to explore outside their strict communities. Before choosing baptism into the church, they get a taste of activities otherwise banned. The aim is to let teens broaden their perspectives and own their eventual commitment. Rumspringa provides an escape valve from the sheltered Amish world. Adolescents can wear modern clothes, use technology, drive cars, wear makeup, and socialize with non-Amish peers. For some, it's a chance to simply visit a shopping mall or movie theater, minor adventures by English standards, but milestones for Amish youth. Others seize the chance to party hard through drinking, drugs, dating, or just blasting music and watching TV. With parental oversight relaxed, wild parties can unfold on the outskirts of Amish land. This naturally sparks sensationalized reality, shows playing up debauchery. But in truth, while troublemaking occurs, most Amish teens exercise more modest freedom. Their community ties run too deep to abandon restraint completely. Still, wearing jeans or chatting on a phone is liberating. This time to test boundaries allows informed commitment for baptism's permanence. By sampling forbidden fruits, Amish youth understand firsthand what their vows reject. They observe English vices and conveniences weighing their costs. Sheltering teens from the world could backfire through ignorance and the forbidden fruit's allure. Rumspringa removes blinders in a semi-controlled way. Perhaps surprisingly, over 90% of Amish teens opt to return to their communities after Rumspringa. The outside world intrigues, but cannot outshine the pull of family ties. Their deep roots and shared identity sustain them through curiosity about unfamiliar ways. For most, their heritage anchors identity too firmly to sever. In the English mindset, Rumspringa seems risky or permissive. But the Amish understand granting this temporary freedom reinforces devotion in those who return. They bolster community continuity by exposing youth to alternatives without throwing them in unexpectedly later. Rumspringa's lesson is clear. Sample the world, then embrace tradition. Number 3. The Sanctity of Silence. Within Amish society, the power of silence is held sacred. Women embrace this sanctity of silence, subduing public voices to turn inward for peace, wisdom, and devotion to God. Their communities value wordless introspection over verbose expression. Speaking is restrained in favor of mindful quietude and focus on inward spirituality. For Amish women, practicing the sanctity of silence demonstrates deep faith rather than meek submission. They believe silent spaces invite one to listen to the still small voice of conscience. Reserving words for times of necessity creates an opportunity for reflection and revelation that is missed in mainstream chatter. Introspective silence also fosters humility. disorder, and self-control. This sets Amish women apart from modern obsession with self-expression and speaking one's mind. Instead of demanding to be heard, they thoughtfully discern when words are worthwhile versus when silence shows greater wisdom. They understand speech can breed gossip, conflict, and pride. Holding one's tongue guards against these vices. Of course, silence taken to an extreme could engender repression and subjugation. But to Amish women, their quietness represents devotion to their faith, not weakness. They find power in refraining from idle talk or dissent. Within their communities, silence maintains social order and harmony. Worship services incorporate periods of silence, showing its sanctity. At home, routines move at a slower pace without intrusions of televisions, radios, or phones. This simplicity allows for reflection missing in English modernity. Women savor these silent interludes to kindle their spirituality. For outsiders, the Amish emphasis on silence over speaking out may seem foreign or even problematic. But within their worldview, quietness holds beauty, order, and deeper meaning. Their lifestyle cultivates discipline to exercise silence as a choice, not oppression. For Amish women, the sanctity of silence speaks volumes. Number 2. The private language, Pennsylvania Dutch. In Amish communities, the Pennsylvania Dutch language serves as both a practical tool for communication and a powerful emblem of identity. Women fluently speaking this unique dialect preserve traditions and maintain separateness from the outside world. Beyond conveying literal meaning, their native tongue reinforces cultural heritage and belonging. On a basic level, Amish rely on Pennsylvania Dutch to speak privately in public spaces around non-Amish English speakers, but it signifies much more than concealment. Preserving this ancestral language fosters community cohesion. It connects Amish women across generations through stories, hymns, and daily vocabulary unique to their culture. Speaking this shared dialect reminds them of their common roots and rejects assimilation. The use of Pennsylvania Dutch is deliberately and strategically maintained rather than allowing their ancestral German to erode into oblivion. Amish mothers pass the language on to their children. They recognize abandoning it could endanger their communal ties and traditions. Perpetuating language skills represent resilience against threats modernity could pose to their heritage. For Amish women, fluency in Pennsylvania Dutch is not some quaint anachronism, but a vital lifeline to their identity. It allows both candid expression and code switching when privacy is needed. This speech community built through shared language offers refuge from the churning tide of change outside. Dialect binds them in familiarity and meaning. Of course, usage does vary between generations, affiliations, and regions based on outside influences and internal traditions. Some youths add slang or dialect words, but overall, Pennsylvania Dutch prevails as a daily vernacular and intimate channel for cultural continuity. Amish women exemplify dogged dedication to preserving this rare linguistic artifact against steep odds, ensuring it infuses meaning into a changing world. Number 1. The shameful hidden secret. Behind the innocent facade of Amish culture resides a dark shadow rarely discussed. Rampant sexual abuse, incest, and rape afflicting women and children. In recent years, ex-Amish victims have broken the silence to share their traumatic stories. Their chilling accounts expose systemic abuse enabled by the secluded nature of Amish society. Several factors contribute to this unseen epidemic of exploitation in Amish communities. First, the patriarchal structure grants men power while silencing women's voices. Gender roles enforce strict obedience to fathers and husbands. This power imbalance makes it difficult for women to be heard or believed if they report abuse. Some are told reporting rape is sinful. The Amish also have an isolationist culture emphasizing separation from outside influences. This isolates victims who may not even realize abuse is abnormal. Sex education is non-existent, leaving youth vulnerable. Seeking help from authorities is avoided at all costs, allowing abuse to thrive unchecked. Even parents may willfully overlook signs to avoid shame. When abuse comes to light, the Amish emphasis on forgiveness over punishment leads to perpetrators being allowed back into the community after confession rather than receiving true justice. Sexual deviance is sometimes blamed on the victim, attributed to their clothing or behavior, and this compounds survivors' trauma and powerlessness. The Amish provide the perfect environment for abuse and coercion to run rampant. Predators exploit their positions of power and trust knowing victims have little recourse. Fears of being shunned prevent people from reporting. Lack of education keeps the vulnerable unaware of rights and resources available in the outside world. It is the absolute worst-case collision of secrecy, patriarchal authority, and avoidance of accountability. Of course, sexual abuse exists everywhere. However, certain Amish cultural elements exacerbate the problem. Change is beginning as some women find the courage to share their stories and raise awareness, despite backlash. Recovery resources tailored to Amish abuse survivors are also emerging. But substantial reform will require a hard look at certain traditions that, when taken to toxic extremes, allow abuse to flourish unchecked. No cultural practice merits defending if it enables harm against the innocent. The plain truth is that Amish culture shelters dark secrets that demand the light of scrutiny, accountability, and compassion to protect the vulnerable. Though reform will not come easily, they must confront sins that have left scars on generations. Their lifestyle may limit outside intervention, but bravery from within offers hope. By acknowledging this shameful crisis, they take the first step toward transformation.